Hey, what's going on? This is the Leafs Convo for Oak Ridge Ford in London, Ontario. OakRidgeFord.com. Low interest rates on just about everything in stock. We're getting ready for price hikes when they come. I can't be specific about it because I don't know. What I do know, however, the deals are really great with me right now. Low interest equals low payments on everything in the fleet. At Norman Oak Ridge Ford, when you sponsor Oak Ridge Ford, in a way, you're sponsoring us too, and we really do appreciate the fact that we do have some support from corporate elements out there, specifically Oak Ridge Ford and the Raffi Auto Group. It is Sunday, April 6th, 2025, Norman, London, Mike in Buffalo. The Leafs on a 4-game run, 5-0 winners over the Blue Jackets last night at Scotiabank Arena. That is how you get it done. I mean, lots of great performances across the board. 6 games to go, Mr. Augello. And, you know, we could talk about Austin Matthews, Nylander, Robertson, Riley, Carlo. But I wanted to get this out of the way right now. And I think it's maybe not a no-brainer, but it's close to being one as possible. Barring an injury or a couple of really, really shitty performances between now and game 82, the way he's played, you got to think Anthony Stolarz is going to be the game 1 starter in the next couple of weeks when the Stanley Cup playoffs get underway. Good morning.
Good morning, Norm. I mean, I think we've pretty much known since he came back that he was going to be the game 1 starter because that just seemed to be the way Craig Berube was leaning. But, you know, the way he's played lately, I think, and the fact that after the good game against Florida, he played him against Columbus when maybe that was the Woll start. But being the game 1 starter doesn't mean that he's going to be the goalie. It means you're going to get the first crack, and it means you have to perform. And, you know, I think Berube, because Stolarz is a more veteran goaltender. I mean, remember, he has only played 1 game in the playoffs in his entire career, and that was in relief of Sergei Bobrovsky, and I think game 4 last year. He has not played any play. So he's experienced in terms of the NHL. He's not experienced in terms of the playoffs. And we know that the playoffs are a different animal.
Right.
He's going to get the game 1 start. He may get the game 2 start, no matter how badly or how well, okay. If he plays well, he continues to play. If they play badly and they go to, and I mean they, meaning the team, and maybe him as well. If they're down 2-0 against the Ottawa Senators or against Florida or Tampa, I'm playing both sides of the coin here. Joseph Woll is your goalie in game 3. So I don't know how much you can say he's the number 1. He's the game 1 starter. He's got to perform and play well for him to stay the starter. But this has been a 50, almost 50-50 split all year. And I think it's going to be based on performance. If Joseph Woll gets in there after Stolarz drops the ball and Woll plays great, then Woll will be the guy who is the go-to guy. But Stolarz will get the first crack, and he will get the opportunity. If he plays as he's played for most of the season, he'll have the job.
This is the Leafs Convo for Oak Ridge Ford in London, Ontario. OakRidgeFord.com. Like the content, subscribe to the channel, share what we do with your friends. Look for us on Instagram as well as TikTok. Mike, it's no secret. We can dig up all kinds of content that we've produced in the last several months. Joseph Woll has been the guy always, from your perspective, who should get most of the playing time and should be the guy to lose the job, essentially. It's not as if he hasn't played well, but you mentioned the word performance. Stolarz has performed his way into this position, beating Florida earlier this week, 27 save shutout against the Columbus Blue Jackets. And make no mistake, Mike, that's a very, very big win because typically that's the kind of game the Leafs lose coming off a big victory. And, you know, Anthony Stolarz was super steady. Now, you've got 2 games coming up in Florida. You got Florida, you got Tampa. How do you think Craig Berube sets up the goalie situation there? And if Joseph Woll has a magical game in one of those 2 contests, do you think that potentially changes anything at all?
I don't. I think more than likely Stolarz will play against Florida, and Woll, who's traditionally played very well against Tampa in his career, will get the game against the Lightning. You could almost make the case that the game against the Lightning is more important because they're 2 points ahead of the of the Panthers. They're 4 points behind the Leafs. The Panthers are 6 points behind. That back-to-back Florida swing, I mean, is more critical than ever, because I think if the Leafs split or maybe get 3 or 4 points, the division is likely theirs. But if they get swept, if they lose both of them, and that's possible because they're two good teams, then all bets are off. Then I think it's a race for the final 4 or 5 games, 4 or 4 games of the regular season. And the Leafs schedule, I know they play Detroit, they play Montreal, they play Buffalo. Those are games they should win. But right. As you just mentioned about Columbus, I mean, there was reason to be hesitant going into that game yesterday, because that's the game that typically this team loses. Right. Columbus is a wounded animal right now. They're desperate to catch Montreal for the final wild card spot. They had a lot of motivation going into that game, and they've played the Leafs very well. And I give the Leafs a lot of credit. They played a very taut defensive game. They got some key goals from Nick Robertson, who has been out of the lineup for a few games, and they buried the Blue Jackets, and that was a critical victory. And with Florida losing yesterday to Ottawa, and with Tampa Bay losing in a shootout to Buffalo, they gained ground on both teams, and that was a big thing for their aspirations of winning the Atlantic Division.
Guys, we appreciate the comments. Keep them coming. I'm not going to be able to highlight anything. Something's a little wonky with my StreamYard setup, but we will move on. Wouldn't that be something if the Leafs win the division and put themselves in a spot where they can, I wouldn't say take the easier route, but avoid a Florida team and then end up with a Florida team, Mike, if you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's not like the Panthers are in a tailspin by any means, but they've lost to Ottawa's 4 points back, the top wild card. The irony, you earn the division and then you earn one of those Florida teams. But we were wanting to avoid a team that is ramping up and maybe intercept one that has just come off an absolute barn brawl of a series, maybe catch them flat-footed or tired. So is it just business as usual for the Leafs? And if they do win the division and end up having to face a team like the Florida Panthers in the first round, does that take the luster off the accomplishment?
I think it's the worst possible scenario.
Right.
The whole thing right now is have Florida and Tampa beat the crap out of each other. That's the right. Big scenario. If all of a sudden Florida, and we know the reason why. Barkov is out. He was out against Toronto. Tkachuk may not play until game 1 of the playoffs. Ekblad is on the game 14, I believe, or 13 or 14 of a 20-game suspension for, I think it was PEDs, but I don't think they specified. Right. So if Ottawa stays absolutely red hot and they've won their last 2 games in a row, and Florida continues to fall, and it's Florida in the first round of the playoffs instead of Ottawa. Not to say, I mean, Ottawa beat the Leafs 4 straight in the regular season, so that's not going to be a cakewalk either. But Florida, with their championship pedigree, with the fact that they won a Stanley Cup, they've been into 2 straight Stanley Cup finals, winning 1, losing 1. You could say it's the same situation as Tampa in 2023, where they played 3 Stanley Cup finals, winning 2, losing 1, and they were exhausted. We know that there's wear and tear on the Panthers. They don't have Brandon Montour. They don't have Steven Lorenz and OEL and a couple of other players that won the Cup last year. They're still a scary MFing team. So, right. I mean, I would rather face Ottawa than Florida. And I would rather have Florida and Tampa in a battle of the Sunshine State. That's the best case scenario for the Leafs. And then whoever comes out of that as a wounded animal, if the Leafs can get by the first round, that's the best case scenario.
Here's the thing, guys, and we know this, and we've lamented this. The Leafs have no history of setting themselves up to take an easier route and pursuing that route to a successful degree. So it's all up in the air what they can accomplish in the playoffs. 1 series win in the last how many years, how many decades, right? What's really important, one series win with Matthews at the helm, with Tavares, Marner, and Nylander flanking him. And it certainly has to change. However, regardless of that anemic history, if you have the option to put yourself in a position to give yourself a better opportunity to finally succeed, you will certainly do that. The irony would be winning the division in order to have another go round with the Ottawa Senators in the playoffs, most likely, and the Sens to get into the top three and the Panthers to fall back into that top wildcard spot. It would be kind of shitty. But then again, who knows what the hell you're going to be facing in Florida, Mike? You've just laid out the case for both reasons why an inevitable matchup between the Leafs and the Panthers could go either way. This is the Convo for Oak Ridge Ford in London, Ontario, oakridgeford.com. Low interest rates right now. Get at me. I appreciate it very much. We were talking about Morgan Rielly before we went live, Mike. We discussed him in the past. Clearly has a lot of detractors. Not his greatest season in total. However, he's got somebody back there to help him out a little bit. The Brandon Carlo deal looks better every single day, and the guy's going to be around for next year too. Plus, let's not forget, Carlo knows the battle. He's done it with Boston on many occasions. So that's the kind of guy you want. So supporting the team, but more closely supporting a player who is a lightning rod of controversy for the fan base and who needs that support. This is great.
Well, I mean, and it's even better is he's around for 2 more years at a lower salary at under $4 million. So yeah, now Morgan Rielly has had not a very good season.
Right.
I mean, there's no doubt. But
going forward,
and yesterday he had 2 assists. They were both +3, I believe.
Right.
Rielly is +4, 5 assists in the last 14 games. They need more offense out of him, but I think that will come. Especially with the fact, and Craig Berube even said it after the game, the way Rielly is playing with Carlo, I mean, there's a confidence there. And I've been saying this all year. You needed a right shot defenseman, somebody who was defensively responsible, somebody who was a little more physical, who allows Rielly to take more offensive chances. Not to be irresponsible, not to be risky, but somebody who can step into, allows him to step into the play, not get caught up the ice, because the forward has to come back and cover for him. But he is an offensively creative defenseman, and Carlo allows him to do that. That combo is a good combo. I think you will see a different Morgan Rielly going forward, because I think the whole reason that they spent a first-round pick and a Fraser Minton, who just got called up by Boston, he's going to be playing the Sabres today.
Right.
Who's an NHL player. I think he's a good kid. I think he's going to be a decent player. I don't know if he's going to be a big scorer, but I think he's an NHLer. The whole reason that they gave him up was because they knew Carlo was the type of defenseman that they needed to put with Morgan Rielly to accentuate his positives. And you've got him and Carlo, and then you've got McCabe when McCabe is back, and Tanev as your top 2 pairings. That is the best top 2 pairings this team has had in eons.
Yeah. Does Myers stick around, or do you think Benoit is in the opening lineup for Game 1?
Well, Myers is in the lineup right now because McCabe is out. McCabe will go back with Tanev, and then it's OEL, and it's either Myers or Benoit. I would lean on Myers, but right. Benoit seems to be, again, the favorite of Berube, and him dropping the gloves with Matthew Olivier and being a physical guy, that I think they'll lean, not that Myers is not physical, but I think they'll lean toward Benoit to start the playoffs.
We have our problems with these players. It's something that nags at us as we watch games, and 1 minute our favorite player, or the players who represent the team we love so much, do well, and then they don't, and we want more. It's never enough. The history of this group and its lack of major accomplishments always prevails. But we're 6 games away from a very, very pivotal playoffs. Not like they haven't been pivotal in the past, but this might be the last one with the band together. I think it's time to put aside our animosity towards these guys, if we have any, reset, and just be there to support No, none of these players will be Maple Leafs forever, and they may go on their own volition. They may be forced out, but that's a circumstance we'll have to confront at another point. Between now and the start of the playoffs and into the playoffs, these are your ride or dies, and I think we need to get behind them. Last night, go ahead.
Let me because you can't pull up the questions in the chat, so I'll just read them off. Jeremy W. Who cares who they play? They played Montreal who had the lowest points of a playoff team. They were up 3-1 and lost the series.
Okay.
That's in the past, Jeremy, and I get, and you're right, and it's reality. And Tavares got injured in that first game, and I don't think, even though they got up 3-1, they never recovered. They couldn't close. I mean, that has been the issue with this team. Even if they're up 3-1 against Florida or Ottawa, does anybody in the GTA have any confidence that they're going to finish the job? No, because they've choked, except for one series, for 9 years. Right. So that's, again, I say show me. By saying show me, I mean close, win the game, win the series, move on. You've got talent. That's what talented teams do. And if you don't, then you're just the same team that's been there for 8 or 9 years.
It's in the back of our minds. It looms large over this organization. If they blow a team out in the first round and get through, that helps to hack at the pessimism. If they go 7 and win, that does the same. If they lose, then it's another shitty conclusion to a season that could have been so much better. There's only one way to find out, guys, and that's to continue down this road and just try to enjoy the ride while we can. Mike, just maybe another 10 minutes or so. I wanted to go through last night's game because there was a lot happening and a lot of good stuff. Mm-hmm. So I want to talk about Nylander, Matthews, but Nick Robertson, 2 great goals, and you think he's making a case to be in the lineup for the playoffs. Like, again, he's kind of a one-trick pony, but we have seen a little bit more tenacity from him, a little bit more capability, and then it kind of goes away. And that's not anything that's unique to a player of his age, his stature, and his position within the organization. But after last night, is that to the point where it's tantalizing enough to start to figure out a way to get him into the playoff lineup and maybe a playoff where the Leafs have to prove something is an opportunity for a player like him to do the same?
He's a one-trick pony, but the trick is scoring goals. Right. And this team has had a penchant for drying up offensively when it gets tight in the playoffs. So to have that guy on a fourth line or a second power play might be the difference between a win and a loss. I would play him, but the problem is that, I mean, okay, we don't know the health status of David Kampf. Yesterday, they moved Holmberg to the middle. Lawton or Domi on the third line center with Yarncroke. The third line seems to be set. The top 2 lines seem to be set. You've got Max Pacioretty. Max Pacioretty is going to be in the lineup in the playoffs. So that means who sits. If Kampf isn't available, then Robertson or Holmberg probably sit, and Holmberg is probably the center of that fourth line with Steven Lorenz. I think is almost guaranteed to be in the lineup. So, maybe he doesn't start the playoffs, but if another injury happens, then I don't think there should be some hesitancy here on the part of Berube of sticking Robertson in the lineup. He's taken stupid penalties. That was the reason why he got sat. And T-Sack in the chat says Yarncroke sits. No, Yarncroke doesn't sit because Yarncroke is a veteran who's played a lot of playoff games. He's capable of killing penalties. He's a good fit as a checker on a third line. He's healthy now. I don't think he sits. I think I think that third line. Now, personally, and they won't do this because the second line has worked so well with McMahon, Tavares, and Nylander. If I put Pacioretty back in the lineup, the best that combination has played all year, meaning Tavares and Nylander, was with Pacioretty on the left wing. Mm-hmm. And he's an experienced playoff performer, and Bobby McMahon is not. You could put McMahon on the third line, move him down. Then you would maybe move Yarncroke or somebody down to the fourth line and give your lineup a lot more depth. they may not want to do that. They may not want to tax Pacioretty too much in terms of physical, because he's going to come in there, and Pacioretty is going to do the one thing that he has done all year. He's going to be physical. He has thrown hits. He has made it painful on the other team. He's going to do that because I think that's the main thing that he contributes. He can contribute offense, but I do think that he is going to be guaranteed to be in the lineup in game one.
So he's going to leave it all out there too, Mike. Like,
sure, this might be his last thing.
Right. He's made his millions, and if he makes an impact through one series and then can't continue on, there will be somebody else who can take his place. It's a balance of players who haven't really had a chance to prove anything, and players who have the pedigree, who have been around, and who would like to elevate, the mystique of their ability to do things in the playoffs to another level. It's a nice mosaic of young and old and guys, with some championship pedigree, and others who are, desperate to have a taste of it in the end. But look, let's be honest, the opening night lineup will most likely have, quite a few changes when it comes to the lineup that is, fighting tooth and nail in round 3 or potentially in the Stanley Cup final, right? You're never going to be able to start with the same guys as you finish with, because it's a war of attrition, and we've seen that. And the Maple Leafs have been, in the center of knock them down, drag them outs with teams where you start with all your best players, and then guys you'd never think or imagine would be integral to the playoffs would become just that. So Nick Robertson, a couple of goals. The guy can score. It's tantalizing. What will Craig Berube do? That remains to be seen, and it's an exciting thing to wait for. William Nylander, 2 more goals. I think he's at 44 for the season now. He's second in the NHL in goals scored. Will most likely slot in there because I think it's Leon Draisaitl is number 1 with, I think, 10 more than Nylander. But with 6 games to go, Willie has an outside chance of hitting 50 in one season. Like, that is just incredible. And it's, the thing with William Nylander, he's had a quietly amazing offensive season. It's been quiet, but we kind of expect it from him now, right?
Well, 40 goals 2 years in a row.
Right.
So, I think the thing, and it's been less and less and shorter over the last few years, but the inconsistency has always been the issue. Defensively, I think he is solidified a little bit. He's still not a great defensive player, but that he doesn't make the big looping turns, or I think he's a little more solid defensively than he's been in the past. But there was one stretch where he didn't score for a while, but pretty much he's been a dependable offensive guy, and I think that combination with him and Tavares has had a really good year. Has just been dependable. It's probably been more dependable than Marner and Matthews, simply because Matthews has not been consistent this year.
Right.
We know it's because of injury, but yeah, no, okay. Do personal marks mean anything? No, nobody cares about it. Leaf fans would love to see him get 50, right. No doubt. But in the grand scheme of things, do they really care about him getting 50? No, they care about winning the Stanley Cup. They care about winning in the playoffs. So they're not going to sacrifice anything, or they're not going to play a player who's like maybe injured, a little bit injured, to get a personal mark. We've got Matthews, who got to 30 goals. So we have Marner, who's 6 points short of 100. We have Nylander, who's 6 goals short of 50. They're going to give him every opportunity to get there, but in the final game, if they've got first place locked, if he's 2 goals, 3 goals away, I'm not playing him. I'm playing the Toronto Marlies against in their final game. So, right. Yes, you'd like to see him get it. Yes, they will try to get him there, but I don't think it's a big concern to the club. It's a concern to the players. They want to set their own personal benchmarks. Right. But I don't really care.
OG's Converts, what say you? Is it important to you to see your favorite Maple Leafs reach offensive milestones that they haven't before? Is that something that means a lot based on the history of this group and all of the things that it has not been able to attain? as a professional franchise that year in and year out seeks to win a championship. Mitch Marner, 94 points, Mike. So, I think he can put 6 up and get 100 points for the first time in a regular season, which is hard to believe because he's had quite a few 80, 90-point seasons, but has just missed the century mark. The thing is, if he doesn't get another point between now and the end of the season or gets over 100, I don't think that's going to, and it won't change the kind of money he is going to be asking for July 1st.
Oh, but it's going to be at the top of the resume when you hear about it in July. It's going to be, that's definitely going to be, oh, he's a 100-point scorer. So, Darren Ferris will be walking down Yonge Street with a trumpet saying, but, yeah, it is a thing for him. And it should be, it's a personal mark. That's fine. But yeah, no, I mean, this is definitely going to be something. If he falls short, well, he had 90+ points 3 years in a row or whatever. They'll still find a way to suggestive sell it. But he wants to get there. They're going to give him every opportunity to get there. Whether it makes it again. It may not make a difference to the Leafs because I think with Marner, it's going to be tied to the playoff success. If they don't have playoff success and he scored 140 points, I think there's a chance that they would temper their interest in re-signing him. Maybe I'm wrong, but I still think the chances of him coming back to Toronto all depend on their success or failure in the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, it may not mean anything to us. It may not mean anything to his pocketbook when he's demanding major money in the summer. But when it comes to Austin Matthews and 30 goals, he's the first American, he's tied with Pat LaFontaine for 8 years in a row, to score 30 goals or more in a season, 9 straight seasons. I mean, this hasn't been his greatest year, not because he has just failed to produce, and he's just been injured, and it's a known thing. He has not played at the same clip he has in seasons gone by, and that the bar was set so bloody high. But 30 goals, 71 points, 6 games to go. If he's sharpening those damn blades for something spectacular in the playoffs, which he still has a lot to prove in that arena, wouldn't that be something? Austin Matthews, it hasn't been his greatest year, but wait until the bloody playoffs come around. Then I'm going to show you something. Last couple of points to you, Mike, and we'll get out of here.
I mean, we've seen the signs of him playing at a higher rate of speed, at a higher with a higher impetus. I mean, it's not inconceivable that he turns it on in the playoffs, but again, it's like we talk about this. There just has seemed to be a situation with this team just not being able to finish, not being able to get that puck over the goal line when it counts. We'll see. I mean, the one thing, it was funny because watching the game last night, I can't remember who Sean Corrali. Sean Corrali and Matthews sort of tangled near the bench, and Corrali was getting in his grill. And Matthews did what he's done in the past before, which is that smile back to him. And I don't know how some fans feel about that. It's like, don't smile. That's sort of like, I mean, I like when Darcy Tucker got pissed off when somebody was doing something and, did something. But now I don't want Matthews to drop the gloves. I don't want him to, there are other players to fight those battles. But, give the guy a cross check. Give the guy some of the business that they're giving to you, and don't have this look like, oh, you're above me. Right. I mean, because sometimes that can be misinterpreted. I know what he's doing, but a lot of people are like, oh, yeah, he just doesn't want to get involved with it.
But Mike, that may also represent a swagger and a confidence that's returning.
Yes, it definitely does. But I think, and that's what I'm saying. I do think it can be misinterpreted. Right. And I remember, I can't remember who it was. I think it was in the Montreal series where it was like the first or second game where a player sort of got in his grill and he was just like, look at this guy. And he's smiling. And
right. I get it. Yeah, 100%. And we all remember that. And that is a really shitty image to be known by, considering you haven't produced anything when it really, really counts. There's only one way to find out, Mike, and let's go forward and see how this thing all shakes out. The thing about Austin Matthews and Nylander and all of these cats who are scoring a ton of goals in the regular season, you're going to have to find a way to do something similar in the playoffs. And, if you don't think for a second, if Ottawa gets a chance to take the Leafs down in the playoffs, I mean, they have their own historical retribution to enact since the last time these two faced off in the playoffs. I mean, 20 plus years ago, the Leafs beat the Senators, but it's like their Stanley Cup, and they're going to be coming at these guys who've had a lot more room in the regular season than they will in the playoffs. Again, I'm here for it. I know the OGs and converts are here for it. Like the content, subscribe to the channel, guys. We appreciate everything you do for us. Mike, last word to you.
There were rumors out there during the middle of the week that the Blue Jays and Vladimir Guerrero were close on a 10-year deal for $500 million. If you're a Blue Jays fan, do you like that or no?
For sure. Sure. So think about it. This guy was unearthed or, was presented to them as a 16-year-old. He signed that international deal. He's been with the organization for how long? Only to and again, he hasn't really proven himself to be anything other than the best star of the time for what he can offer. And why the hell would you not pay him the kind of money a player like that would most likely get paid by another team, only to kind of reset, right? I mean, there's a lot more riding on his ability to play the game that kind of morphs out into the respectability of the organization. Are you a big time organization? Are you a major market organization? Can you keep the players you develop? If you can't, you're basically telling everybody that you're just a medium market organization that develops players to a point where you can't pay them any longer. Then you parlay them into another set of players that may or may not get you somewhere, but will most likely you'll have to depart with when they're asking for too much money. And again, we're talking about Rogers, Mike. Like as a corporate entity, Rogers has more money than God. Pay the bloody guy and continue to build a team. I mean, that's how I look at it.
I can only tell you the reputation that the Blue Jays have from an American perspective is that they can't get these players to take their money. They're offering them more money than the teams that they end up going to, like Ohtani.
So pay the internal guys. Pay the guys you've grown.
Right, but I think the factor here with Guerrero is he'll be the highest paid first baseman in baseball, and teams don't pay first baseman anymore.
But if that screws the market too bad for everybody else, don't you think the Juan Soto deal is throwing everything off?
Yeah, but I mean,
did the Mets care?
No, they didn't care, but they'll care if he doesn't play like Juan Soto. They'll care if he shrinks under the pressure, because he didn't have any pressure when he was with the Yankees. He had Judge hitting with him, and now he's got pressure because he's the guy and he's got to come up. He's got to come through.
If they don't keep Vladdy Guerrero, who's the next great hope? Arjun Nimala? I don't think so. I think, again, do I like all the money that he's asking for and that the Jays may have to pay? Absolutely not. And I've told you, nobody's worth the money they're getting paid. Even Shohei Ohtani is not going to be worth the money that the Dodgers have committed to him when his arm goes, or he's not hitting the fastball like he used to. And let's be honest, he's 30. So I mean, will he go to the Barry Bonds pharmacy to keep himself in check when he's in his mid-30s? I don't know. This is a homegrown player who isn't skewed by the American perception of Canada. He's from the Dominican Republic. The Blue Jays have always had their tentacles, and organized processes going on down there to get players from that island and bring them over to play for the Jays. So historically, it's been a good relationship, and we're at the point now where the Jays can't say that they just don't have the money to pay him. They're going to have to come to the conclusion that it's too much to pay for a guy like that, and the reset is worth it, or just close your damn eyes, sign the contract, and move on and continue to try to build a winner. So, I mean, that's how I look at it. I think there's more riding on the circumstance than just a player. I think there's just the perception. And if you lose him, If you thought it was hard to get guys to go there now, just you wait. Mr. Augello, I'm waiting for this Hockey Hot Stove website to be launched into oblivion so we can all jump on it. What's the latest?
Well, I'll whenever I hear about it, I will let you know. It's in the works, but no announcement as of yet.
Okay. Well, Florida, Tampa coming up this week. 6 games to go in the regular season, OGs and converts. Mike and I will have a Sunday spectacular for you in 7 days' time, but more than likely we will reconvene between now and then to give you the latest from our perspective on what's going on. Wouldn't that be nice if they can beat those 2 teams in a good way, pick up 4 points, and not lose any players due to the fact that we know that Tampa and Florida traditionally around this time like to start taking pieces out of the Leafs and start to beat them up a little bit to kind of as a preamble and a prerequisite to what's probably going to be to come here in the next couple of weeks with the Stanley Cup playoffs. So they got to get out of them unscathed, Mike, with their points and try to win the division, and everything else will shake out the way it does. For Mr. Augello in Cheektowaga, New York, I'm Norm James in London, Ontario. Thanks so much, guys, for being here. If you need a vehicle, I'm your guy at Norm at Oak Ridge Ford. Low interest rates right now. The Leafs Convo for Oak Ridge Ford is up.